Assalamu alaikum, I am Shaima and this is Rvision News. Dirt accumulation increased Rohingyas' misery in makeshift camps. Refugees' citizenship demands impossible, says Burmese government. IOM creates emergency safe havens for the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. ASEAN must be more active in engaging with the Rohingya issue. Another Rohingya found dead in Akyab. Rohingya at makeshift camp are suffering seriously due to the accumulated dirt in the gutters and have made the environment unbreathable for the Rohingya. At Block B12 and 15 of camp in Tenghali, dirt from lavatories have accumulated in the open gutters, for which the sheltering Rohingya are unable to take breath and are being infected with the various types of diseases. The real factor of the accumulation is the narrowness of the gutter width and the lack of regular cleaning process. These unhealthy and unhygienic conditions in the makeshift camps have worsened the living condition of the Rohingya, who are almost lingering with all basic human needs. Similar conditions were also reported from Block B19 of the same camp, making the Rohingya suffer in a worse level. Even though locals have tried to contact the authorities and NGOs is working in the field, non-authorities have been seen in any action to combat the situation. Since late 2016, 1.3 million Rohingya are sheltering at makeshift camps of Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh and are usually seen in fighting for day-to-day needs after fleeing a deadly genocidal attack in their homeland. Administrators in northern Rakhine state say it would be impossible for the government to agree to Rohingya refugees' citizenship demands, in a further sign that Rohingya repatriation is likely to proceed slowly. Repatriation of up to 2,200 verified refugees from Bangladesh was supposed to get underway on November 15 under a bilateral agreement reached on late October. The Burmese government agreed to accept 150 refugees per day, but none of those verified has returned to Burma, and Bangladesh has so far opted against forcing them back. The United Nations and other international groups have warned that conditions in northern Arakan are not conducive for the safe return of up to 720,000 refugees in Bangladesh, most of whom are Muslim Rohingya. Rohingya community leaders have said that refugees would only return if the Burmese government restores their full citizenship rights. But Mongdo district administrators Woo So-ong said on November 16 that refugees' demands were not in line with the 1982 citizenship law. Those who do return will instead be forced to enroll in the government's National Verification Card scheme, through which their application for citizenship will be considered. Officials told Frontier, which was visiting northern Arakan on a government-arranged trip with journalists from 12 other local media groups, that the Minister of Labor, Immigration and Population would review applications for citizenship. U Tenzin, the Deputy Director of the Immigration Department for Mongdo District, said it was impossible to say how long it would take to make a decision on citizenship applications. Dil Mohammed, 52, said under the NVC scheme, they would be considered foreigners. We are citizens of Myanmar. Our mother, father, and many generations of our ancestors are citizens of this country, he said. Mongdo District Deputy Administrator Woo Ye-chu said the authorities in northern Arakan would continue to wait for refugees to return unless they received other orders from Nay Pyu To. Dozens of community buildings in Bangladesh Rohingya refugee camps have been upgraded by shelter teams from IOM, the UN Migration Agency, to provide temporary accommodation for refugees in emergency situations. 70 buildings have been completed under the first phase of the project, supported by the European Union, offering temporary shelter space for over 4,500 people. The upgraded structures will allow IOM shelter and site management teams to provide better protection for refugees if they are affected by landslides, floods, bad weather, or other unexpected events that force them to leave their own shelters. In a second phase of community shelter upgrade work, to be funded by the United Kingdom, a further 100 buildings will undergo improvements. Once completed, 170 strengthened structures will be able to accommodate 1,000 people with urgent shelter needs. The facilities will also serve as a temporary accommodation for families whose shelters need to be repaired or completely rebuilt in the coming months, as the dry season offers a window of opportunity to tackle damage inflicted during the monsoon season. The EU funding was provided by the European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations under a consortium project implemented by IOM, the German Red Cross, and the UN Development Programme. The Disaster Risk Reduction Consortium was established to mitigate against disaster among refugee and local communities affected by the Rohingya refugee crisis. Almost 1 million Rohingya are currently living in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, after escaping violence in Burma, which surged in late August 2017, sending over 500,000 people fleeing across the border in just few weeks. The region is prone to some of the worst monsoon conditions on Earth and undergoes 2 cyclone seasons each year. Most Rohingya live in what has become the largest refugee settlement in the world, a desperately overcrowded environment on ground prone to landslides and flooding. People living in local villages where infrastructure has been severely overstretched since the arrival of so many people in a very short period. The issue of over 700,000 Rohingya refugees from Burma who are currently in neighboring Bangladesh is one of the worst humanitarian crises of recent times. A UN fact-finding mission report released in September this year concluded that there was a genocidal intent and called for the Burmese military commander-in-chief and 5 generals to be prosecuted. While governments and international organizations have spoken out to condemn the disproportionate and overwhelming use of force by the Burmese military and the inaction of the Burmese civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations has largely been silent on the issue. Governments and activists around the world want to see ASEAN playing an active and constructive role in helping address this humanitarian crisis. Still, many who understand the complexity of ASEAN's organizational structure, which makes it difficult for the body to play such a role. The fundamental principles of ASEAN require member states to show mutual respect for the independence, equality, territorial integrity, and national identity of all nations, recognize the right of every state to lead its national existence free from external interference, subversion, and not interfere in the internal affairs of the other member countries. While it is true that the ASEAN grouping has not taken any substantive measures on the Rohingya issue in the past, the signs are that we can hope for more active and engaging role from it, although the results of this will largely depend on the openness and the receptiveness of Burma, as well as the level of the commitment from the member states. A Rohingya was found dead in a village of Akyap Township on 21st November, and local suspects Chakma, a different ethnic group, to be involved in his killing, reports a nearby villager. The victim, named Abdushukur, son of Hamid Hussein, was found dead in a field in an abandoned condition early this morning. The tragic incident took place at Sabarangfara of Akyap Township, and local suspect Chakma from nearby Rama village of being involved in his killing. His body has been recovered and handed over to his family, and until now no clue of the actual murderer was found. It's not a new scene in Rohingya villages where any Rohingya can be killed by a mux, Burmese authorities or anyone without fear of being accountable later. Since 2012, state-sponsored violence, more than thousands of Rohingya were forced out of their homes in Akyab and are forced to live in the concentration camps till today without any basic human rights. Thank you for watching Rvision News. To know more, visit our website rvisiontv.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.